Please help me welcome to the stage filmmaker Erik Ljung, and we also have with us the Hamilton family. So I'd love to welcome Ms. Hamilton, Nate, and Damien. Thank you all so much for coming for the festival, and I can imagine it's a difficult experience. I don't know how many times you've watched this film, but obviously there's an element of reliving, and I don't know if that's a feeling of difficulty or a strength of love for one another and regenerating energy. You know, how is it feeling watching?
It's powerful.
Yeah.
To know that I was in that place, and through my going through, I'm the individual that I am now. And my fight right now is to help people. I'm hoping that this movie will continue to allow people to say Dontre name, Trayvon's name, Eric Gardner's name, all of these people whose lives that were stolen from them. We didn't ask to be in this sisterhood that we in, but we're the voices of our children.
Thank you. And Damien and Nate, how does it feel watching the film? I don't know how many times you've seen it. I know you watched it last night too.
Every time I see it, you know, it's times where you gotta fight back the tears, and you know, but it's also times where you laugh, and you see the joy that we found in each other, the joy that we found within the community, and just to bring not only ourselves back to life, but I think we started to bring Dontre back to life through the process and make people really know who he was. I think people got to get a real good picture of who Dontre was through us. And we wanted people to understand that he was a good person. He was a person that had a family that loved him, that would do anything for him. And that's where we still are today. Whether he's in a grave, we will continue into our grave to promote him and to promote change and bring to realization that families, that the media don't show who the family is. They don't show who this individual who passed away really is, and we want to give people an opportunity to meet him, but also just get to a place where this wouldn't continue to happen, and our fight is not over because every day is still continuing to happen. So we still have so much more work to do. So this film inspires me. It enlightens me on where I came from and growth, and also I can be critical of certain things I've done or seen myself do within the film just to better myself. So I think it's always something I see new every time I watch it.
Yeah, that love and strength comes through so powerfully. It's kind of amazing, the love that you have for one another and the support and defense of some harsh criticism and things you run into every day. So I admire and commend you for all of the work that you've been doing, so thank you.
Along those lines, I remember this premiered at South by Southwest, and the family hadn't seen it yet, so we're editing up until the last minute, kind of like this festival, but
sounds familiar.
But a couple days before we went to South by Southwest, we screened it privately for the family, and for me, it's like I've been working on this for 2.5, 3 years, and it's portraying their life, and I want them to feel comfortable with what we're presenting, and that was a terrifying screening for me, you know, and it was amazing, you know, watching how the family reacted to it, because afterward, you know, Nate was really quiet, which made me concerned, you know, and I was talking to him, you know, what's going through your head, and after watching it, he said, like he's saying here, he's just like, there's so much more that we should have done, can still do, and we need to get back out there, you know, and you know, I made this film kind of hoping that it could inspire other people to take action, but Nate watching his own story remotivated him. So, I didn't expect that in making that. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sentiment. And I wanted to ask how you came across the story of what happened. I'm assuming it was in the media at the point that you joined the film, but also how you approached the Hamilton family to work with you.
I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I live about a mile from the park where this happened. I used to work right across the street from that park. It's like the central downtown area. Being there, that was like the main news story for a long time, and I was following it from day one, and it just didn't sound right to me. 14 shots for a non-emergency wellness check on someone sleeping in the park. It didn't add up, And so one of the first major rallies that the family held, I was out there, and living in Milwaukee and knowing the community, like I knew a lot of activist people, and they connected me to the Hamilton family, and I kind of talked about how I wanted to film. I didn't really know what that would be. I wasn't expecting it to be a feature-length film, but my goal was just to show a perspective from the Hamilton family, and I didn't know what that would look like, and they didn't either. And as we grew more comfortable with each other, it kind of evolved, and they kept fighting, and I didn't go away either. And 3 years later,
I think you do a really good job of bringing in very complex issues and show all the different angles and make it show the real progression of 3 years of fighting in so many different ways. I mean, I was going to ask you actually, there's so many tactics when it comes to creating change and bringing about justice, and we see so many different avenues that you take through political, through civil disobedience, and there's a lot of other groups doing this on the ground. I just wanted to hear more about the collaboration that you might be having with other Black Lives Matter or other organizations happening right now, because I know there's a lot of work to be done.
Nationally, my mom kind of takes around nationally. Me, I'm more of a get in the city, do what needs to be done at home, take care of home first. But I work with all the organizations within Milwaukee, our family, the Coalition for Justice and Mothers for Justice, which my mom co-founded, and I co-founded. Well, she founded that, I co-founded the Coalition for Justice, but we're well respected in our grassroots approach. And we align with all different groups, especially if they align with where we want to go as an organization. And we really work good together. We really support each other in efforts. Whether it's like the union groups that's protesting more money, they'll call Nate Hamilton and Maria Hamilton and say, hey, we need your guys' support. We want you to come show us how it's done and how to get stuff done and how to aggravate a system enough to pay attention. And I think, that's what we do. We agitate enough just to get the attention paid to the issue, to make media change their narrative around and really start focusing on the root cause of the problem. I think that's important. So we will continue to work with other groups. Our main thing is getting to a point of real, true people power, where we can put people in place that really are going to work for us politically. And right now, there's not too many people that are willing, even politically, to align with one another to support a great agenda that works for all people. So we have to make sure that we're putting people in there that respect others, that's willing to look at human life as the main goal and how to preserve it and how to create a safe net around it. And right now that's not happening in our political world. So our job as people is to build power, mobilize enough to create voting strength, where we can vote the people in that really gonna work for us, but at the same time to be able to show up and just stand. I think that's what causes people to look and say, whoa, I got 20,000 people outside my office. What am I gonna do about that? Well, we'll stay here until you do something. And that's pressure. They need to have pressure put on them at all angles, whether, and it's not to be violent. I think we don't want to take a violent approach because then the messaging will get thrown away. And we're particular about our messaging. We're particular about the way we do things. Erik had 500 hours worth of footage to the point where we got 100 garbage bags. We put names of people around this nation on the garbage bags, and we took all those garbage bags that look like body bags, and we put it on the federal doorstep, and we left them there. But you have to answer to all these deaths that's happening in the nation, and the media is going to get that, and that's going to transpire to, you know, questions that need to be answered. So we want to be real particular in our messaging and in our approach.
And for me, we need to heal. The mothers need to heal. The siblings need to heal. The fathers need to heal. Our community needs to heal. So Mothers for Justice is that resource that moms with traumas and family members with trauma can actually come to get to the source of their problem. Because all of our situations are uniquely different. So I needed different coping mechanisms to help me through my hurt, through my pain, through my hate. So I decided to go spiritually. But there are people that has been traumatized that don't have a relationship with God, that don't have loving family like I do. So we meet that individual right where they are. Everybody's problem, everybody's healing process is different. So we reach you where you're at, and then we find the programs that can actually help you. Because for them 4 months, my help was sitting at Nate's house in front of my computer. No one came. No one called. No one sent letters. There was nobody. I was alone, truly alone, in my pain. And Mothers for Justice connected me with all these mothers across the nation. Hillary Clinton gave me a platform. I learned how to fight. And I learned how to fight for other people. I learned how to love other people. I learned what respect truly is. And it's not something that you have, it's something you have to earn. And through learning how to respect myself as a human being, I learned to love and care for others. And it's something that we all can do. Find out what your passion is and use your passion, your skills to be a part of this. We all have a place in having a better United States. For each of us, for our kids, for their kids, for years and years and years to come. Be a part of the solution. We have enough problems. Let's heal together.
I know. I want to open it to the crowd, but I wanted David to answer at least one. I was just going to ask, because as we see at the end, the Attorney General is obviously not in support of any sort of oversight of police and is rolling back a lot of efforts. And there's also the efforts you've been making against the media portrayal of a lot of these deaths. Do you see any changes since the new administration, or has it changed the way that you've worked in the community, in the local community?
No, I mean, our fight has always been by love, the love for our brother. As far as moving forward with the deaths that we've seen, with Jay Anderson's death, with Seville Smith's death, they pretty much basically spend those families just like they did us, and we continue to support them, in their efforts to get justice for their loved ones. If I'm not mistaken, I think when Trump became president, he pushed back from the civil rights, their efforts in helping families get justice. But it doesn't stop us from continuing to stand and continue to fight for what we believe in, because at the end of the day, wrong is wrong and right is right. And as a family, we just had to show them that they were wrong from the very beginning. And we will continue to keep doing that. We didn't ask to be in this position. We were forced. We believed the detective when he came and told us that he would be there for us, and if we needed anything that, to pick up the phone and call. But when we called, our answers were unanswered, and we felt like the only thing that we could do from there was to stand up and to fight back and do our own personal research so we can get the answers that we needed, because we weren't getting any answers. Our attorneys, they can tell you that we called with questions, but they really wasn't trying to feed them any information either, so it was very hard. It's still very hard when you have to see other families suffer and go through the same things that we've had to go through, but if we can continue to stop the divide between cultures of people and come together, then the situations that we have to occur, that we come in contact with, they won't happen, but we have to stand together. We can't fight from a divide, because of color, because of race, because of religious background. We have to stand together and have one common goal in mind.
Thank you. So I want to open it up for questions. We have a mic on either side, so if you put your hand up with any questions. We have someone down front here.
I was wondering what's happening with the civil liberties lawsuit. Is that helping your cause or your actions or your community activism?
I got it.
Thousands of, I forgot, but it sounded like there was systemic racism in the Milwaukee Police Department with the stop and frisk stuff. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of, we had this in New York City, but there was still a lot of pushback on it. Actually, we're still fighting it here in New York City. It's in different forms. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering how that might help you and what you think about that taking place in your community. And then the second question is, when is this going to show in Milwaukee?
Okay. When you look at what they call the collaborative reform effort, it's collaborative, meaning the police department said, hey, federal department, the community don't trust us, we need your help. So they come in, they talk to the community. We actually put a listening session together that involved youth, because no one really asked the youth who rights and ability to be in the community and be protected is just taken away and stripped away sometimes. So we want the youth to speak to them as well. And they had suggested all these different things to the Milwaukee Police Department, but they can pick and choose what they want to do, how they want to do it, and how they want to implement it. And right now, it's still a slow process. We're still waiting. It's been longer than 18 months, and we're still waiting for them to address the issues of the Milwaukee Police Department, and we don't even know if they're still really working on it at this point. So the police department has now took the Michael Bell law, which you saw, for independent police investigations, and they said that doesn't work. And now they have put together a task force of cities connected to Milwaukee that are still in Milwaukee County, and they all pick and choose and says, oh, it was a shooting in Milwaukee. Well, let's ask the Greenfield Police, which is a next door neighbor to Milwaukee, to investigate the police shooting. So it's still a system that is not trusted. What helps is the body cameras in the Seville Smith case. Now that officer is on trial for killing Seville Smith because it just shows the truth. So, you know, right now, I think as a community, we put a lot of pressure on those body cameras and to get that footage out there to see the truth. We didn't have footage in Dontre's case, so we rallied and protested to make sure our officers have body cameras now. And we just looking at more efforts to create this system to be held more accountable. I think training, if an officer now knows how to deal with mental health, now we can actually hold him accountable for not following that training. If an officer has a body camera and they don't want to show us that footage, we can now hold them accountable. And we can also hold the media accountable for how they depict some of these families and some of these instances that, you know, these are victims. And they turn these victims into criminals. And we didn't want that for Dontre, and we don't want that for any individual who life is stripped and taken away. So, you know, we can't wait on the Justice Department. Like I said, it's us as a people, us as a community coming together and saying, and really itemizing our goals and saying, hey, this is what we need. This is what we want first. We want independent prosecution. I think that's very important, independent prosecution into a police-involved shooting. So we want to construct all our efforts on making sure we get that taken care of in Milwaukee, and hopefully it'll be something that's trending around this nation to make sure, there's a way to be more transparent and make sure justice comes flowing when we see something wrong happening. And the film will be showing the beginning of October also in Milwaukee.
The ACLU has been working very hard in Milwaukee and Madison to address a lot of the issues there. We have a problem in the juvenile system as well as mass incarceration. Right now, Milwaukee is the worst place in the world to raise a black child. Our education sucks. The governor actually just took $30 million away from the colleges in Wisconsin. So we have a real deep graded fight that we have to approach, and we have to fight it together. All of these issues affect the way we live in our communities because there's no fundings. We're losing fundings for everything. So we're hoping that the ACLU do win the lawsuit against the police department and against the county for the way that they treat human life in our prison system in Milwaukee. But what I really do believe caused a lot of that is the privatization of the prisons. Most of our school systems are owned by private peoples as well, and that money goes to them. It's not utilized back into the communities and into books and what our children need in public schools. So it's all washing one hand, and we just have to work together.
As far as the civil suit, that claim was finalized last week?
31st.
Yeah, the 31st. We've never went after justice for money. Our main goal was making sure that this officer was found guilty and sent to jail. My nephew, we have a trust that is set up, and all monies is going to him, you know, for his upbringing, his college, school, and whatever he needs when he becomes grown. And I just want to just commend one of our attorneys. He came to our need when Dontre first died. He's a friend of mine, a childhood friend, one of my best friends. And he came all the way from LA to Wisconsin to support my family, you know, and, you know, I honor him. You know, I got nothing but love for him. And he helped us along this whole process. So I just want to commend Jovan Blacknell for looking out for us through this process.
He's actually here today with his wife.
We have any, there's someone on the right here.
So I'm sure a lot of people here were moved and angry and fired up by watching the movie. If you guys could suggest for those of us who are eager to give a little bit of time or money, having just seen the movie, can you suggest where we might want to do that?
Well, you can donate for Mothers for Justice United. We have a fiscal agent, All People's Gathering. The Coalition for Justice also has a website that you can actually go on and donate. There's also a Facebook page for the community of the Coalition for Justice and Facebook page for Mothers for Justice United. Our Twitter handle is Mamas, the number 4 for Justice, and there is linked on each one of those sites where you can donate.
You know, like going through like fighting for justice, like I'm particular in staying like grassroots, not getting over political or just crazy and engulfed in all the bull crap. So like we don't go out and we don't ask for nothing. We don't, because you shouldn't have to fight for your love. I mean, you shouldn't have to pay to fight for justice. You shouldn't have to, I think people donate and we appreciate that, but we've done everything ourselves as a family. We contributed. We putting our own money. The community has supported us, and we're very grateful for that because it does help. Money does help, but what's going to help is just us coming together and standing there. We don't have to pay anything to do that, to just stand together and be on one accord. That doesn't cost nothing. And that's all I ask for, is for us to come together and have one common goal, which only costs our time. And if we can start offering our time up, that's the most important thing to any issue, any social issue, is just being there, being present, showing someone that you care. Helping someone along the way, and that doesn't always have to be financial, but everything that government does has to be financial, but loving people isn't, and it should never be. And when we start loving the fact that everyone is the same, regardless of how you look, everyone should be treated equally, then we'll get to a place. But if you go, my mother is, like I said, Mothers for Justice United. We're under the CFJ Milwaukee. We got the Blood is at the Doorstep. We got a Facebook page called Dontre Never Forget. But we have, if you type in Maria Hamilton, everything probably will pop up. If you type in Dontre Hamilton, everything will pop up. And it's crazy because I Googled myself and I was like, whoa, I got 1,000 pictures on the internet now. I'm famous, but, all for the wrong reasons. But it's hard. It's hard living this life. It's hard on my children because when we go places, people try to occupy my time, occupy our time. And, we can't always be activists or advocates. Sometimes we have to be parents. And so it's finding balance. It's really, tough to find balance within this. But if we're all take the role of saying, I'm going to be a leader, even yourself. If you just say, hey, I'm going to be a leader today. I'm going to take that bullhorn. I'm going to take that podium. I'm going to go to that mayor's office or that alderman's office, and I'm going to speak up on behalf of people who don't look like me or people that's less fortunate than me. Then you're doing your part, and that's all we can ask for.
And part of that too is as far as screenings, the next screening we have is going to be in Milwaukee, and that's the only thing we have planned right now. And then we're working on a wider distribution too, so we can hope something will happen and soon. And as Nate said, we're on social media, so you can find us on there about upcoming screenings and stuff like that.
Are there other questions out there? More towards the back. There's someone right here.
To thank the filmmaker. It's a quite a courageous and beautifully put together film. I'm curious what it was like to do the filming, and did you have resistance from the police or the politicians? And you know, I'm just curious what it was like for you.
You know, they didn't make it easy, you know, because being an independent filmmaker, they want you to be a news camera, you know, and being that I wasn't, they were very confused by what I was doing, because I would try to get access to things, and they would let all the news cameras in, but they'd be like, "Who are you with?" I was like, "I'm an independent filmmaker," and they're like, "You can't come in, sorry kid," you know, like that kind of thing. But I just kept showing up and just kept asking questions and pestering people, and finally they gave me access. And I think once you know, the police department and the chief, and you know, there's people in here, the DA, I think people kept seeing me come about, and they realized it was a little bit more serious. And if I kind of basically said, you know, if you're not in here, it's going to be declined to comment, and if you want your voice in this to tell your side of the story, that this is your opportunity. But along the way, it faced a lot of roadblocks in that sense. So.
Do you plan on inviting them to the Milwaukee screening?
I think, you know, I don't know. That's not up to me.
They wouldn't come. Like,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
like the chief wouldn't come, the DA wouldn't come. The mayor came to the one that actually gave us access to make the the full-length film, and I called him out. And after I called the mayor out, I think there was no more questions after
They
that.
learned their
You know,
lesson.
they ended the whole questioning process. But you know, we don't hate those guys. We know that they have a difficult job, and that's why we don't think the DA should be in that difficult situation. And we don't want to make no one's job harder than it really has to be. And we're not anti-police. We're for police to be better. We're for police to be safe. We're for them to be smart. We're for them to be educated. And if they don't want that, then we're not for them. In that manner, so
Makes a lot of sense.
Nate has a history at film festivals too. We saw 53206. It's a really great documentary about mass incarceration in Milwaukee, and the DA was on the panel during that Q&A, and Nate was the first one up to the mic, and the Q&A went a little awry after that. But they talked out in the lobby for quite some time, and so they heard each other out, which was great. And you know, we hope that some of these people come, because I think it'll be an important discussion for Milwaukee. I mean, this has been the major news story of the last 3 years in Milwaukee, and there's been a lot of pain and hurt. And so we're expecting, you know, a lot of people to be there, and you know, I think having that public discussion might help, and that's part of the reason why we made this film. So.
There's a lady right here.
Hi, I'm the wife of Jovan Blacknell, one of the attorneys for the Hamilton family. And as I'm sitting here, not only as the partner of someone involved in the case who also loves the Hamilton family as a family friend, I can't help but be in awe of the Hamiltons in a way that I hadn't been before. Although I appreciated it from Los Angeles and hearing from it with Jovan, to watch it on screen, it's amazing to me. And I'm a public defender, so I'm very familiar with police terror. And so as I sat here, I couldn't imagine being a mother of three, 'cause I'm a mother of three, right? And so to have to mourn my son and then mourn my brother, and at the same time compose myself enough to be an advocate and then turned into an activist, it must be one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, because it does not happen. As an educated attorney sitting here, I kept thinking to myself, Nate, let it burn. Let it burn. Literally, and I also started my career, I guess, as a child of the riots in '92 in LA, right? So I kept thinking to myself, how in the hell is Nate operating after disappointment and failure to prosecute, and the delays and then the federal delays? How in the world? And then when you get arrested, knowing in your own mind that you were the reason why the city did not burn, and then they arrest you on occasion, and then when the city did burn, you clean up the city. It is remarkable. And it's a testament to the mother that Maria is to her boys, and the honor and the legacy of Dontre that you all are there. It can't be overstated. It really can be overstated, because I would have probably let it burn, to be honest. But I also want to ask you, Nate, was there a moment where you were like, hands up, let's go?
You know, and honestly, you know, in my outer body, the city was burning. You know, like in my dreams, in my mind, you know, it was burning. But you know, I don't have a give up bone in my body. I cannot give up, and I'm so much about love in my family and our image, and they picked me to be the spokesperson and to lead them. And I had to lead them. I had to keep them safe. I had to keep Dontre's name in a positive light, because we wanted to make sure that we can walk through any door we want to. We didn't want no doors to be shut in our face. And at this point, whether it's the mayor's office, DA's office, they have to listen to us. Everyone in the city of Milwaukee who's an elected official, they have to listen to us. They can't turn their back on us. And we did that by not rioting, by not turning people away from what we wanted to do. We wanted to build love and respect throughout this city. And I think we're on our way to accomplishing that in a big way. And for you to see that, it shows that, you know, that my father, my mother, they did exactly what they need to do. They raised a person who can, like, I meditate. You know, I create a balance within my mindset before I speak or before I engage into things. And I want this system to be transparent. So I have to be the same way with my life and with our movement, with this movement. So, you know, every day is challenging. I think it'll always get tough, but, you know, I'll never back down to any challenge when it comes to saving someone else's life. And I'll say justice for me now is saving the next man or woman or boy or child. And until I complete that mission, I'm gonna do everything I possibly can. I wish I can be a social activist day in, day out. You know, I wish I can just commit to that, but there's so many things that pushes me to, you know, I have to work for my family, I have to do so much, so I have to create so much balance, but I count on other organizations and other people to step up to the plate so we can do it together. But, you know, a lot of people, if the Coalition for Justice isn't dealing with a social issue in Milwaukee, no one is. You know, not to the magnitude that we have. You have people talk about these issues, but we protested every day for months. Like, it wasn't a day. Like, I went, you know, I was in school for carpentry. I would leave school and come out in March, and you know, my professors was like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna be in jail today," and it's like, no, I made it back, you know. But you know, it was so many situations that Erik did capture that he couldn't show. And if we wanted to do like a month worth of hour-and-a-half films, he probably could. And we will still continue to fight. We will still continue to create a legacy for Dontre that helps other people. You know, the song that we made was, you know, at the end, I hope you guys enjoyed that song. You know, but we are very expressionable family. Damien's a songwriter. You know, I write music as well. I'm very engaged in music, and we just find any way possible to reach people through messaging and make sure that we are particular in the way we use art, the way we use sound, the way we use every angle to touch people's heart.
I just want to say real quick, you know, being a son that my mom had to contact that night, you know, I went through my own little situation myself, but I had to watch my mother and be her protector. And as I did that, and going through my own self, losing my brother, it was hard. Like when my mom said that she was stuck in the house for 4 months and really didn't want to do, that's real. You know, she didn't really want to, I'm not going to say deal with me and my brother, but she was in a place where she just wanted her baby back. And when no answers are being given to you, you know, you can either do one or two things. You can either fight for the right, or you can give up. And she chose not to give up. You know, as we started to grow in our process and protesting with speaking engagements and so forth, I started to see my mother grow into a place that I'd never seen her grow before. You know, and when I started to see her on TV and I started to see her traveling the country, continue to show efforts, and I'm not going to give up on speaking about my son, then I started to be a fan, you know, and I would tell her, and I think I told her this a couple weeks ago, like, Mom, I'm proud of you. Like, man, because of you, you know, I want to be a better father to my daughters and tell them what it is for a lady to continue to be strong in mind, strong in body, and strong in heart, and believe. You know, even when no one else believes in you, you believe in yourself enough to continue to keep fighting. You know, and I just applaud you, and I continue to applaud you and tell you that I love you. I know it's been hard, I know it's been rough, but I just continue to hold you up, because your effort has been magnificent in the last 3 years. Even when they counted us out, you still said, I'm still keep fighting. So man, I love you to death for that.
I think we have time for one more. I can't see. Oh, there's a lady right here. Sorry, I can't see with the light.
Hello. I just had a question for the filmmaker. My friend is Keith, who did Milwaukee 5306 or 53206. And there's just like a creative, even with you, Nate, doing the music at the end, what I've noticed, there's like a creative synergy happening in Milwaukee around sort of all this violence, and sort of, to me, that creates this third space or another space where we could find justice. And are you finding that community sort of almost taken a little bit out of the emotional or the particular and finding their own solutions outside of the system?
As far as creatives in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, just strange that you and Keith, and you know, it's like a small place, and all of a sudden it becomes sort of this center of violence, or, you know, sort of media, and then the creatives sort of have come, particular kind of creatives, because Keith is just a certain kind of guy, and so the fact that he kind of ended up on that project made me very interested in the process and the type of screenings and the people interested. It just seems very different than the typical sort of, you know, documentary.
Yeah, I mean, I work as a freelance DP, director of photography. That's what I do for money. You know, but you know, it's kind of empty. You know, I don't go home feeling that great about it, and that's why I got involved in this project, because I wanted to do something. You know, I'm not necessarily an activist that marches in the streets, but my power is storytelling. So I wanted to get involved. And I learned throughout the process, you know, I'm a very independent person. It's hard for me to ask people for help. But through the process of making this film, I realized I couldn't do it on my own, and I relied heavily on other people. You know, Michael Volman, who's here, he's the one who edited 500 hours of footage, you know, to make what you saw tonight. We had Barry Polterman here. He was our executive producer and who was like our mentor through this whole process. But this was really, you know, Chelsea Atwell's here too. She designed the poster. But it was really a community that of filmmakers and creatives in Milwaukee that came together to make this happen. You know, Dan Peters, who wasn't here, was instrumental in bringing this to life, and I relied heavily on a lot of people. And there was a lot of times where, you know, I felt I was way in over my head taking this on, you know, and you know, it was months in, and I was like, I don't think, like, emotionally, physically, financially, like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, you know. And it's just like, this is a film. Like I didn't know Dontre, but working with this family over the last couple of years, I spent more time with this family than anybody in Milwaukee. You know, I was raised in California, so I'm a long ways from family. You know, and they became kind of my de facto Milwaukee family. Most of the time, there was a camera in front of my face, but I was talking to them all the time, you know. And when I wasn't talking to them, I was thinking about them or looking at footage and cuts. Like literally, my life kind of revolved around this family for the last 3 years. But you know, it was a huge collaborative effort and a lot of Milwaukee creatives, and you know, there's a lot of concerned people. You saw them on camera. You know, the people came out in Milwaukee and. It was a small but dedicated group, and you know, we're thankful for everyone who chipped in, because without that, we wouldn't have had this film. So, and we love Keith, man. Keith's awesome. So,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, real quick about that record. What was it? The day after Dontre died? The day after Dontre died, you see Nate playing on the bass. You know, we in the living room, and he just got to playing a chord, and from there, that's where the chorus came. You know, I still dream about you daily. Tears keep streaming. I'm going crazy. I need you here. I want you here. I'm screaming one love. And from that developed into a record where we just wanted to tell. We was trying to do anything by any means necessary to tell the truth about what happened in Red Arrow Park.
And there's a lot of activists, millenniums in Milwaukee that are very, very creative, very, very talented, and they don't know who to actually trust. So we ask people just to take your skill sets and do what you do with them. And that had a lot to do with how me and Nate actually became activists, because people brought their skills together and taught us. We were so educated by the millennials in Milwaukee that supported us. So don't think because somebody is younger than you or older than you that their skills can't be significant to what you're trying to do. Ask for help. Get the help that you need if you don't know how to do it yourself.
Yeah, creativity opens the eyes. So in this approach, in this movement, be as creative as possible. I built a coffin. I took a coffin to the mayor's office with Dontre's name on it. You know, we built everything we possibly could. We built stakes and put names on the stakes and put them in Red Arrow Park, put them in people's yards. Like, we did so much to open people's eyes. And being creative as possible is, I think, the way to open people's eyes and the way to get their attention, being colorful. And we want to remain colorful in this movement as much as possible.
I think a great note to end on, and I want to thank you all for being here, so much for being here, and thank you all for staying, and we'll be outside.
Yeah. Thank you.